What's up, everybody? It's Sean Astrom here with SA Studios, and it's tutorial time. So what I wanted to show you guys today is there's this amazing ash tree outside of my window here in the studio, and I wanted to see if I could just recreate the leaves here in a Corona render and build the materials quickly and show how you could build these out relatively easily using Corona for Cinema 4D. So I actually went through and I don't know, I went and grabbed like 20 leaves off of the tree and I scanned them in using just a flatbed scanner. And if you see here, I have the front side and the back side. And what makes leaves so cool, or one of the things, is that they are certainly different looking on the front and back sides. So here's one texture that I built already. So I have side A here and side B. And in order to do this, I just went through this first scan here, and I grabbed the good old quick selection tool, and I just selected a leaf here, and I'm going to grab this guy and just copy that. I'm going to create a new file. We'll just go 1K on this guy. I'm going to paste it in there. Now I'm going to go to this scan here. Now what I actually need to do is I need to flip this vertically so that the leaves actually line up. So see how that curve is kind of bending upward a little there. If I go to this scan here, it's also doing the same thing now that I inverted that vertically, and that's what I want. So I'm going to grab my quick selection tool here, and I'll grab this guy again, and I will copy that, and we'll just paste it into the same file. And they lined up pretty good. I had to obviously flip them over in the scanner, so they're not going to line up perfectly, but for the sake of this little tutorial, I think that's good enough. So now what I want to do is just rotate these guys around and get them into position. And I scaled it down a little too much, so I'm going to flip this. Let's go. That looks about right. I kind of want to have the stem there at the bottom and have the top barely touching up there. So now if I delete my background here, I have, we're going to name this side A, and we have side B, and voila. Now real quick, I'm just going to generate an alpha by, what do you do here? You control select your layer. I'm going to actually go under my select menu here, and I'm going to contract the selection by, I don't know, about 2 pixels. Then under my channels tab here, I'm just going to generate a mask like this. So now I have this alpha channel here, which will come in handy. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to deselect this here. I got side A, side B. If I go to my other leaf material, same thing, side A, side B. And obviously, you know, if you really want to make a nice looking tree, you could go through and do this for each one of these leaves. I'm just going to do this one right now in order to keep this tutorial relatively short. So we have my leaf here and leaf here. So I'm going to save this guy out. We'll call this leaf 2. And I'm going to hop over to Cinema 4D here. And in order to kind of build these shaders, I don't want to just plop them onto the tree right away. I want to just do some very simple setup here, or a very simple setup here, in order to kind of see how these guys are looking in my scene and everything else. So I'm just going to bring in a couple planes here. Now I want to bring in, this is going to be the front, and we're going to do the back. And what I'm going to do is actually rotate this guy around 180 degrees, and then let's just scoot him over. So if we were to make these editable and select all the faces, now you notice how these are blue and these are orange. Now this is showing us that the orange faces here, this is the front facing normals, and this is the back of the geometry with a single-sided mesh like that. And that's what I'm going to show you guys here, what you can do. So, oops, I just wanted to back up to right before I made those editable, and that looks about right. Now I don't need all these segments, so I'm just going to do 1 and 1. We will enable lines here so we can see this a little better. Now what next here? Let's select Corona Render as our engine, and I'm going to drop in a sky and create a new Corona material real quickly, and I'm going to go under the diffuse channel here. Just going to load in another quick HDRI here. I put one over here that's pretty cool that I was working on the other night. And again, I am kind of working on this new sky pack that I should have out soon. And by soon, I mean probably like 3 months. But that's relatively soon. So I'm going to drop that guy onto my sky here. And I'm going to select it here and go to Editor and Preview. And I'm going to increase the resolution to 2K so I can get a better preview in my viewport. And now let's just do a quick test render and see what we're getting here. Looks like the sky is rendering and my 2 planes are there, and that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to stop that. I'm going to lower my resolution to 960 by 540 so this goes a little quicker. And oops, yeah, we'll just save it here. Let's call it Tree 2. I was doing a little test earlier to make sure that this worked. Now if I spin this guy around, where's my sun here? Let's put it right here maybe. Let's do another quick render. Just want to make sure that these leaves are getting enough sunlight here. That's looking pretty good. Excuse me. So what we want to do next here is create another shader, and we'll just call this, let's call this Leaf 1A. Then we're going to go Leaf 1B. So we basically are generating the front and back. And I'll show you how we can kind of blend these together here in a second. So the first one here, I'm just going to go to Diffuse, and I'm going to load in that Leaf 1. Now what's really great about the Corona renderer integration is it supports Photoshop file textures, which is really nice, because then in Cinema here I can go in here to the layer set, hit the select button, and I can actually select which layer it's looking at. And so in this case I want side A, and there we go. And I'm going to go to this guy, Diffuse, Load Image, Leaf 1, and select side B. So now I have A and B right there. Now next I can actually grab both materials here, and I can go to the opacity channel, select that guy, and under bitmap I can load that same file, leaf01.bsd, and here, oh, it looks like I have to select one at a time in order to select the layers, but I want to not generate alpha, I want to go alpha channels. So there we go, and it looks like that alpha channel is not coming in correct, so let me go back into Photoshop here and see what the issue might be. Alpha, should be right. Let me just save this, minimize that. Let's see here. Opacity, alpha channels, alpha 1. Oh, I didn't actually select the alpha there, so it's a little weird UI for this, but layer set, select alpha channels, and then select the actual, you have to actually select the alpha. So there we go. I have my 2 leaves. Now what I can do is put one on the front here and the other on the back, and we can do a little test render and see how this is looking. Looking good. So as you can see, I'm getting a nice alpha of the leaf, and it is rendering, well, ridiculously quick, as you'd expect from Corona. So I'm going to stop this here, and I'm going to bring in a camera. I'm going to add a Corona camera tag, and I'm going to, let's see here, override exposure, and let's just bump our exposure up a couple stops so that we can get a little brighter render. But what I want to show you guys is if I create a Corona blend material, we will call this Leaf 1. And if I select this guy, now what I need to do here is bring in my Leaf 1A and Leaf 2B. Now under this blend texture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the normal direction shader, which is a Cinema 4D shader. And what it's actually doing is if I go in here, it's creating a mask. So for color 1, you have white. For color 2, you have black. And the normal direction is actually applying each one of these materials to one side of the normal and the other side of the normal. And if I actually right click here in my Corona preview here, it's a little slow, but if I rotate this guy just a hair around, you can see that I'm actually getting the one leaf there and the other leaf there. So I actually want to swap those out. So let's do leaf A and then leaf B here. You can see on a little preview that they just swapped around, which is awesome. So now I'm going to take my blend material here and I'm going to apply it to this guy. And if I actually delete the back here and I pop in a bend deformer and we grab this bend deformer under object here, if I go fit to parent, now I should be able to, sometimes the orientation has to be set up correctly in order to bend it correctly, so I need to just rotate this guy around here 90 degrees. So we'll go fit to parent. Now I don't have enough subdivisions here or segments, so let's just go 10 and 10. And now I'm getting a leaf bending here. But what I want to show you guys here is, so now if I zoom in, and what the heck, let's add some more segments. I'm going to disable my line view, and I'm going to hide my grid. And if I do a quick render here now, so we're getting the one material on the other side and the other material underneath. It's a little hard to tell there, but let me just bring in a Corona light, and let's just bring this guy below, and we'll rotate it like so. Now, just so you guys can see that we are in fact getting the two materials. Whoa, that's pretty hot light. Let me just pull that back here. I bet something like 5 would be enough. Let's see how this is looking. And it's still extremely bright. Let's see what 0.1 looks like. I think this has to do with the fact that my HDRI is very low in light level, and this light was pretty bright. So you can see that that is in fact the other material underneath, and so that's kind of the effect we're going for. And as you can see, pretty dang easy to set up. So next thing I may do is I'm just going to select both these guys and just add a little bit of reflection. Well, actually, so on the front side of the leaf A, I'm going to do a little more reflection than on the back. So we'll just lower the glossiness value here, something around, I don't know, 0.6. And then I'll go to this guy and we'll put the glossiness way down because it's really flat. And then I'm actually going to see what this looks like here. Do a quick test render. And that should look pretty good. Now, the reflection is looking awfully white, so I think what I should do is actually bring in the material itself for the color, and I'm just going to select side A again for this one, and then now the reflection is based off of this color here. And if I increase my refraction a little bit, that should come through a little more. And this definitely is not the physically correct way of doing this, but I just wanted to show you that you can bring in the materials for coloring the reflection. And I'll bring this up a little and bring this up a little and see what we get. That's probably good enough for this demo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy all these guys over here, and we'll just do leaf 2, leaf 2A, and leaf 2, 2B. And if I go here, we just want to make sure that these are linked up in my blend here. So I'm going to go leaf 2 and 2. So now I can go here, go to my diffuse channel and just swap these out with the other materials I created. There we go. And what's nice is I don't actually have to go back and reselect those layers as long as they're named the same. And so there we have that. Now if I just go to my opacity, now in this case I can grab both, load up leaf 2, and we are getting inverted. Well, I guess you do have to actually still go through and select that, which is no biggie. I think the way I multi-selected those materials, it sort of overwrote what I had set up on the other materials. And that's kind of what we want to do. And we'll just copy this guy over so we can see how this is looking. Now if I generate a preview here, that's odd. I should be seeing these leaves, but let me just clear this out. There we go, and I will do a normal direction, and there we go. That's what we wanted, and it should update there. Great. So if I pop that there, do another render. So now you will see that we have our green and our red leaf, and they're looking pretty good. I'm just going to add in some quick bump mapping. Now, yeah, I should be able to grab both those at the same time and go bump mapping. And let's just load in PSD1. Now in this case, I'm not going to go crazy with setting up a correct bump map, but just something there to give it a little bit. And that's a very incorrect way of doing bump mapping, but just for the sake of keeping this short, I just wanted to do it roughly. So let me load in this guy here, and I'll just bump that up to like 50%, which is probably way too high, but yeah, that's working good enough. Just do another quick renders, see what we get here. And very subtle, but extremely subtle, but it will do. So I'll just crank up the strength to 100%, and that should be fine. So what I'm going to do next here is actually bring in a tree, and for this I'm going to use the Forester plugin, which is really fantastic for those of you that may not be aware of it. But it's a Cinema 4D plugin, and I believe you can get it for Softimage as well. But if you go to the website here, it's 3D Quakers Forester. I'd highly recommend it. It's basically a procedural tree generator, and it's phenomenal. Rocks, plants, pretty much anything. I've built flowers with it. Yeah, any sort of organic stuff you can very easily do with this plugin. Yeah, it seems like my internet connection is a little slow right now. But anyway, I'm going to select this guy here, and this is kind of the default tree. I'm going to hide my sky so we can see this a little better. And you can actually go to the tree library here, and I'm going to just bring in like an apple tree, and it brings in some materials here. And if I select the apple tree, what I need to do is go under the leaves tab here, and I actually want to go material count. I'm going to bump that up to 2, and then I want to do randomized materials. Now you can have up to 3 different leaf materials, but in this case we're going to just do the 2. And if I zoom in on the tree here, you'll see that the leaves are actually, the shape of the leaf is actually generated by the plugin here, by this curve here. So if I adjust this, you can see that's what's actually controlling the shape of my leaf. But since we did the alpha channel thing, we just need to make these square. And so for the leaf profile, I'm just going to get rid of all these points here, and then we'll have a nice square profile. Now it looks like I need to have at least 1 point there, which is fine. Now if I go here under the leaf width, I can just set this to something like 15, and now we more or less have a square. We'll go 25, not overlap. Let's go 20. That looks like about a square. Now all I need to do is just grab my leaf 1 blend, plop it on there, and you can see that we have that guy on there. And now for the second leaf, all I need to do is copy this over, And there's some built-in selection sets, and for this it's leaf 2. And if I just grab my leaf 2 blend, plop that on there, there's my leaf 2. Now what's so great about the Forester plugin is it renders a much higher polygon count at render time. So if you go viewport levels 2 and then render levels, you have 4. So if I lower this guy, you'll see that my tree actually has multiple levels here, and if I bump it up to 4, that's essentially what I'm going to get at render time. So you can see there's a lot of leaves going on there, and they're all randomly distributed there. So I'm going to do a quick render and we'll see what we get. And that's looking pretty good. So we have some nice fall leaves here. The colors are different. We have different materials for the back and front of the leaves. It's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to just stop this. And one of the really great things you can do with Corona's Uber shader, if you will, is there's a translucency parameter. And if I enable that guy for leaf 1, and let's bring in the same texture here, and then for leaf 2, same one here, I guess leaf 1B. Then you know what, I'll just select the correct sides here. So it's side A, and we will select side B. And if we let these previews update, we should see some nice translucency. I'm going to just do this real quick on these guys. So enable translucency. This is translucency here. Let's go leaf 2. Select this, select layer A. And we will go with the second one here. Translucency and bitmap leaf 2. Sorry, it's a little redundant, but I think you guys will appreciate this translucency effect. Now, this isn't really the correct way of setting this up, but for the sake of this demo, I just wanted to show you guys that that is a possibility. So I'm going to just whip my camera around a little bit, and let's see if that translucency effect is working. But that's what you'd want to use for like a sheet of paper or like a lampshade, something that's really thin, that's two-sided. And yeah, it does appear to be working. So you can see that the light is kind of coming through the leaves a little bit. And yeah, so that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys. And I think this is looking pretty cool. So I actually went back through and I reversed or sort of flipped where these translucency shaders were placed. So this texture slot here is for like sort of a more of a black and white texture that would distinguish where the translucent areas exist and where they don't exist. And then this is the color channel here. So, but anywho, I'm gonna just do one more quick render here. This was kind of a little test I've been doing here. But I increased my render size and I enabled the denoising feature in Corona, and we'll just let this cook real quick. And as you can see, we're getting these nice translucent leaves, which is awesome. And these leaf materials are not perfect by any means. I would spend a lot more time on getting them to look a little nicer. But for this quick demo, I really just wanted to show you guys that under the blend material that the normal direction shader is in fact supported. Again, so many of the built-in Cinema 4D shaders are supported in Corona, and it's just such a cool thing to see how well this plugin has been developed. So this is rendered for about 50 seconds. I'm going to stop it and let it do its denoising here, and voila, we have a perfectly clean image. That denoising feature is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm just going to save this out real quick as a quick 16-bit render. We'll just open it up in Photoshop. and do a quick color correction on it. I love this little effect, this Nick collection that Google bought and turned into a free plugin for Photoshop, and just absolutely dead easy for doing sort of Instagram-like effects, but it gives you a heck of a lot more control, but without spending too much time with it. If we just go here and decrease contrast, detail extraction, saturation is down. Anyway, you could spend days playing with this thing here. Sure, that looks decent. Now, obviously, I'm just kind of doing these tutorials on the fly, so they are not the most beautiful renders you've ever seen, but that looks pretty good. If I duplicate this here, do a quick auto color, it looks pretty terrible. Let me just do some levels here and see if we can get this looking a little nicer. Get the blue going a little nicer, cool it down. It is fall. It's chilly out there, people. So yeah, anyway, Corona Render Cinema 4D is absolutely awesome. Let's do a smart sharpen. Gotta love that smart sharpen. Anyway, this is just a super rough tree with those double-sided materials. And yeah, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend. We'll see you next week.